Ignore this podcast and we'll hunt you with dogs. Woof!
Wild dogs.
Wild dogs?
I think
Where are we gonna
that's what
get?
he said.
Where are we gonna get wild dogs from?
Hmm.
All right.
That's when you say wolf, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So welcome to the Three Body Narrative podcast. We are your hosts, Pradyum, Aaron, and Naeem, and we're here to discuss everything pop culture, movies, TV shows, games, you name it. And for today's episode, we're gonna be, or rather, we're delving back. I don't think we've ever done this. So we're jumping in to the realm of Game of Thrones once again. And we're going to be talking about the latest show, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, what is the show all about? Well, set roughly 90 years before the Game of Thrones series, it follows Sir Duncan the Tall, a wandering hedge knight, and his young squire, Egg, as they travel to the Battle of Ashford, a tournament, hoping for fortune and fame. Instead, they find themselves caught in rising political tensions that challenge their honor, loyalty, and place in the realm. All right, so I'm intrigued, given that I had watched this obviously as and when it could come out, and it was my job to recommend this. So let's hope it goes for the better this time. So we'll start with our ratings for the show. Aaron, why don't you start?
I thought it was a pretty interesting one. I'll rate it a 3.5. Only because I found it a little bit difficult to get into it in the beginning. I found the start a little bit slow. But yeah, I think all in all, it was quite nice. Character wise, you had quite a lot of likable characters. I think with these type of series, always the environment is going to be pretty cool. So that was nice. Story wise, also they had a few interesting twists and turns. Some that you did see coming though, but it was still quite cool that that's the way they went about it. So yeah, I think all in all, a nice short series and something worth your time, I guess.
All right, perfect. So I'm gonna give this show a 4. I I really enjoyed it. Now I'm someone who kind of knew the story about Duncan X. So I know the history. I knew coming into it what to expect. Um, but of course, given this entire realm's past history, right, which we shall not get into, Naeem, definitely, let's not. Um, but yeah, I think it was a pleasant surprise. Honestly, like the previous two shows that have been released, I think were very serious, very like harrowing at times. And I felt like here there was a lot of lightheartedness, a lot of like just general joy, but of course later it becomes sorrow and tragedy later on. But I think the relationship between Egg and Dunk for me was what stood out. Like for me, that was an easy 5 out of 5. One of my favorite duos in television history. Just loved the portrayals by both. I mean, the stupidity and the dumbness by Dunk, and of course this little brash young kid who I mean portrayed Egg superbly. I think. See, the thing is, the Duncan Egg stories are like novellas, so it's really like unlike the Game of Thrones, which are 6 really big books. This is just a short book, and so I understand why they probably went for like 30 minutes an episode. I honestly, at the end of every episode, was like, shit, I wish we could have stayed with them a lot longer. But I also kind of understand that it's nice to have something that's crisp. Like they got to the point, they did the point, and then just moved on. There was no like bullshitting around. There was no like fillers. And the one thing I really liked is that you follow just Dunk and Egg. It's not like you'll have an entire episode on like Baylor or an entire episode on Lionel or an entire episode. And I like that. You just follow these two characters and see where the story goes. And it was really fun. More often than not, you follow Dunk, and that was really nice, a really interesting take. So yeah, that's my rating for this show.
Yeah. So definitely a 4 out of 5 for me. Um, I was quite happy with the tone of the series, considering, like you mentioned, the other two, how serious they are. I think, especially with the first one, it took me like, I think, 4 episodes or so. No, not four, maybe like three, four. I know I took a pause somewhere, even though like it seemed interesting.
Yeah,
Uh, and I don't know, like I think I took a 2 year pause or something and came back. I think initially I watched Game of Thrones when it first released, and first 2 episodes or something. I don't exactly recall, but I do remember finding it quite taxing in terms of the pacing and like very slow. Couldn't get into it, and then like 2 years later, I think just around the time of the Red Wedding thing, like things started like really exploding, and like everyone was like, you have to watch," kind of a thing. And then eventually I got into it. Anyway, getting into the series, yeah, extremely character driven stories. I love the fact that it feels grounded in a lot of ways, even though it is Game of Thrones. It's just the way the character chemistry works between the two. It's fun, and like you mentioned, right? Like it's very crisp. It doesn't feel, the pacing feels so good in the way it moves along for me, especially like even in the first, like Aaron mentioned, it took him a while, but for me, the moment I saw Daron, I believe, with the silver haired
oh yeah,
killer, I was like, okay, cool. So the Targaryens, obviously, like, I mean, I think I'd only seen one trailer of it, and I knew Egg was Egg. They
egg
do mention,
was yeah,
yeah, Egg was Aegon. So yeah, I was just trying to recall today. Of course they do. Yeah, yeah. So I knew that Egg was Aegon, and like how that would transpire and stuff. The only problem for me was bits and pieces of this, because when Game of Thrones came out and how fascinated I was with the Targaryen family and stuff, I'd gone through and like read a lot of the family tree, what it was like and stuff like that. So bits and pieces of it I kind of saw coming, because I had read through of it. I think there is a separate book, right? But mine comes from the wiki. My knowledge comes from the wiki that you find online. So
yeah,
it's from that. But I think from that perspective, I was expecting a certain things. So if I didn't have that knowledge, probably it would have hit a lot better. Um, but yeah, overall, very strong in terms of story. It's a good thing they know where it ends.
yeah,
So there's no basically like adding in bits and pieces that are not really required. Uh, yeah, I think I haven't really had a fun in a medieval um, kind of a, what do you call it, a drama? It's not necessarily a
yeah.
drama. It's a,
Well, it is drama. It's medieval setting, medieval, yeah, a period
yeah,
piece, basically a fictional period piece.
yeah. So overall, definitely a strong 4 out of 5. I want to know, is this like season one, or is it just this season? That's it.
No,
It
this
is
is
just,
season one. It's season one. Yeah,
so there will
yeah.
be more seasons to follow. Okay, because otherwise it would have felt very
Ye-
abrupt in the way it ends, kind of a thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think overall very fun. Like it's hard to say that about Game of Thrones usually, like in terms of its, because it is so serious and there's so many political issues and things like that. But yeah, also the fact that there are no, okay, should I be saying that? Yeah, I mean, I can. It's only 90 years before the thing, but the lack of dragons does not take away from the
well,
series. What, in fact, it kind of adds more.
I mean, it's not like they could add any.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I wanted to like
Yeah,
figure out.
yeah. I
The
mean,
spoiler there.
yeah. Well, technically, 77 years after House of Dragon, which is technically the end of the dragons until Game of Thrones comes about. So
Is it 77 years?
yeah, it's roughly around 70 odd years after House of Dragon, and then Okay, so now that we're done with the rating, one thing I want to know is, are you all like well placed as to who Aegon is and the family tree of sorts, in terms of what we've already seen and who we know, perhaps?
I think I have a fairly good idea of which lineage
Yeah,
he's got.
yeah.
They're all Targaryens, but like obviously there are multiples.
I mean, the lineage is like brother sister get together, have
Yeah,
a kid,
for the
brother
most,
sister.
for the most
Yeah,
part.
for the most part, yeah. No, it's nice. I really enjoyed, kind of, obviously I knew the family tree, and so knowing, I think so, just to maybe put it in context for people listening and watching, is egg
But
is
okay, hold on. If we say things now, do we spoil anything for people who have not read books or anything else outside of it for
no.
House of Dragon?
Yeah, so House of Dragons, we should probably not get into what the
Because
fate of the
if you start
characters
getting
are.
into the lineage, you kind of figure out like who would have ended up on the throne
Yes,
technically.
yeah, technically, but I mean, I guess we don't talk about it that way. I was just going to say that Egg is Rhaenyra's great grandson, I suppose.
Okay.
I mean, we already see, if I'm not mistaken, we do see. Do we see him? Is he the grandson or great? No, sorry, we see Baelor, which is the uncle, right? From
Yeah.
Yeah, so we see Baelor in House of Dragons already as a baby.
Did we?
Yeah, so it's very this thing, but there is a like part where Rhaenyra, yeah, essentially introduces or talks about Baelor. So anyway, so I think there is a slide. That's why the timeline is not too huge. I'm sure there will be something, but yeah. So with Aegon, I mean, Egg is essentially Daenerys' great grandfather or great grandfather. Sorry, great grandfather. Yeah, not great. Yeah, great grandfather. Because, uh, but that again. So now that's hilarious because if you go to Game of Thrones, Master Aemon says that Aegon's son is the Mad King. So they've actually fucked up in Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
it's not.
Whereas
Aegon's son, right?
Yeah. So Aegon's grandson is the Mad King. And yeah. So yeah. Now, okay. Now that we've got all of that in place, let's just talk about I mean, this entire show is about the relationship between Dunk and Egg. It is the story about it. I think even the book is called The Story of Dunk and Egg or whatever. And I totally loved it. I think the both of them played it off so brilliantly. I loved Egg. I loved the moments, obviously, where he's being a little insolent, right? Trying to be this bratty little kid who obviously he knows his place in the world and he knows the liberties that he can take. But seeing that Dunk doesn't know about it, and that kind of friendship really plays out quite well. So, what did you guys think about that? I mean, the chemistry that both of them had, the actors as well as the characters, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the mentor squire bond really for me carries the season basically. It had the right amount of comic comic to it, but also from a perspective of like giving him learnings, teaching him things in the way Dunk has been brought up, and like the things that he's learned along the way and how that's being passed on and stuff. That's pretty nice to see. Um, Again, like also, it's not just like a one-way thing where it's all Dunk teaching. In a lot of like in a lot of scenes, you see the other way around where Egg is
Yeah.
the one more mature, and the way he kind of uh, gives like a pathway to Dunk to follow of sorts.
Yeah.
And that's pretty nice to see. Yeah, like for me, it was like there's
Man,
something
Egg was the best wingman for Dunk.
Yeah,
He's
definitely.
like he's like the Barney to Ted
Yeah.
in a way.
So that bond in itself was really heartening to see, and also the fact that Dunk over time, like within that short span of 6 episodes, you kind of see that bond really grow and just see how much Dunk really cares for Egg towards the end of it all, to the point where he realizes that he doesn't want to see this kid follow in the footsteps of his brothers, which means like if Dunk wants a better life for him, all he has to do is say yes to Egg's father, right? Like he gets a good place to kind of better himself first, and also teach Egg along the way with all
Yeah.
the nice lifestyle or whatever that comes along with it. But he chooses to kind of do away with that because in reality he actually cares to see the kingdom be run better, which means that the people who are supposed to rule it need to be better, right? And in the current trajectory that things like the way it's going about, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, with the exception of Baylor, obviously.
Yeah.
My God, what a character! Absolutely loved his presence, screen presence. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else before. I could be mistaken, but I think uh, considering the character that I knew of or had read of, I think when I envision it, like this is the right person that they've kind of casted. He makes it really believable. Like you can have those figures even in a very corrupt environment, have this thing of putting their points across, but
Yeah.
also know that they need to balance things out and know where to draw the line
Hmm.
without that kind of a thing. So yeah, you really enjoyed that character as well.
Yeah. Aaron, what did you think of? I mean, both, I suppose.
Yeah, I did take it away from
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I thought both characters were quite nice, and I think portrayed by the actors as well. It was really nicely done. I think the way they show also how Dunk kind of sees himself in Egg initially. I mean, that was the reason why he takes him as a square or kind of appoints him as his squire. So yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Even though you don't really know Dunk's history in the series, at least they don't quite touch base on that, but they were able to portray it quite nicely. And then, like you said, I think the comic kind of moments between the two also kind of shows how the bond develops and like how they are comfortable with each other. Like I think when Dunk sees that girl at the market when he's picking up those goose eggs and he's kind of mocking him while they walk behind her. That was pretty. Well, that was quite a fun moment. And also in the end when they're like, "I've heard they've got some good puppeteers in Dawn and stuff like that." So yeah, nice small moments which, and if you pick up, not that it was difficult, it was like they kind of make it small moments which are kind of insignificant, but it kind of tells the story in a more profound way, I guess. And so that was quite nice.
Yeah. I really love those instances when they were at the tourney or watching the other people this thing. Like it's like going to a football match and watching like your favorite teams go. And I love like both of them mocking each other's the way that they are,
The way they
uh,
talk, yeah, and stuff,
the way
yeah,
they
that was
talk.
cool.
So that was nice. Loved Eggs, that I don't know what you call it. Like it's definitely not a poem, but the song that he sings on top of the tree, which is
Yeah,
hilarious. I, I more than anything else, like it's just it's nice to see this because I think in Game of Thrones you kind of saw it a little bit with Tyrion and who's the Braun? No, Braun,
Braun.
right?
Yeah,
Braun, yeah,
Braun.
Braun. I don't think anything in House of Dragon. That's a very dark time. I don't think you have any comedy relief there. But honestly, here you have that. I mean, it's really nice to see this duo play out. And yeah, I think, I mean, Dunk, for all the stories that you hear about Dunk, and in Game of Thrones, he is referenced as this really big hero and this massive knight, right? Like, I think he's the only one to have 4 pages written about him in the lore of the King's Guard. And
Mm.
I expected him to be this like big brave knight, and so, but turns out that he's this idiot. Essentially, this, I mean, I wouldn't say idiot, but he's this, like, nobody's been there to teach him anything, and he's kind of just been
Just a
told.
simpleton kind of thing who, yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the most well informed guy around.
exactly. So he's just a bigger supandi. So that's about it. Like, yeah. So it's just that.
With a better proportioned head. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was hilarious. What I also liked about the series was that the intro was so just basic. I loved it. Like, yeah, I just like the title. That's about it. Like, it just felt like I was watching a sitcom almost, where just the title comes in and you're like, you don't have to listen to this grand sound and everything. And of course, that was played out in the first episode, and then he shits on it, which is, I don't know what to think about it, but yeah, that was pretty cool. But talking about like parallels that they draw with each other, I think, I mean, we hear about this Arlen of Pennytree, and the kind of knight he was, and my God, we see the kind of knight he also was, right? in full 4K. But I think it's hilarious because, I mean, when we are watching it, or rather when I was watching it, I'm like, this dude's just a drunkard, right? Like, he's just a drunk knight. Like, he doesn't know anything. But I mean, the fact that he's like, he's been praised, and he's kind of revered by Dunk so much, right, for what he's done to him. It kind of is like, it gives me this thing of like, what you hear versus what you actually see, or something like that. It's like the perceptions are very different.
Yeah.
And and there's also a tinge of like, was Dunk actually telling the truth of of his encounters, or was it just kind of the sort of person that he made up, he made Arlen to be? And so that was interesting. That was a really interesting take. We don't get to see much of the Arlen lessons to Dunk, but I guess whatever we see Dunk to Egg is exactly what I envisioned would have happened during the earlier travels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they also slightly touch on it when he's kind of speaking to him at the burial, and they kind of show like there are a couple of clouds behind the ear, is what he would call it. So I think they showed that, and then like how he is now saying that it was not me who stole the food from a blind woman or something like that, which he took the fall for. I think the innkeeper or some kid at the inn did it and ran away, and then he took the beating for it or whatever. So yeah, I think they kind of just touched on how eccentric, I guess, their relationship was. But yeah,
that was straight out of some Wes Anderson comedy skit. Like,
yeah,
that cut to, he's like, the cut to like slapping and whacking and hitting his like constantly. I was like, I genuinely was so happy that they did that, because I was like, you never get to see this in Game of Thrones, right? Like, in Game of Thrones, otherwise it
yeah,
would be like very direct cutting. And even, I think, was it after the battle, and in the last episode where Lionel is talking to Dunk, and he's like, we're leaving after the roast, and it suddenly cuts to Baylor's funeral. I was like,
yeah.
really? Like, what the hell? So I love the editing work in this. Honestly, it was so good. It's so refreshing. The word I would use was so refreshing for this realm to get such a story.
Yeah, even that whistle kind of musical thing that would just suddenly appear and stuff like that, which was so different from what you normally associate with this series and anything else that you watched kind of in relation to it. So yeah, it was a nice one, and they've kept it that way, I guess, lighthearted and something which is just a chill watch or a fun watch, whatever. So that was nice.
For the most part.
For the most part. I mean, one episode, technically. All right, yeah. So the other thing also, like talking about, I love that scene where they're obviously prepping for the tournament. And I mean, for anyone who's not read the books, anyone would have envisioned that Dunk would enter the tournament, and that's what the season would be about. That you know, you're going to this tournament, and you've heard a lot about Dunk the Tall, so you eventually think that he's going to be the one who's going to win the tournament at Ashford, and he's going to take down all of it. And I mean, like I said, I've watched it, so you don't really get that shock when none of it happens, and you're just immediately put into the biggest battle of your life. But I love that scene where Egg takes the horse to the field and starts training it. It's so fun to see this little kid just have a lot of fun running around in the ground and like screaming at the horse. So yeah, it just feels like it would have been fun to you know to shoot, to produce. I think this would have been a much more easy, not easier, but it's a lot less chaotic or I think serious for shoot.
And I think like a perspective of even this thing, right? CGI and stuff like that. You don't have to leave a lot to imagination in this. I think a lot of this would have been actual production, physical production, sets and stuff like that. So I think that also really helps bring flesh things out a lot better. Love the choreography of the fights, by the way. Like horse.
Let's talk about. Okay, I guess let's talk about that a little while. I'm guessing you're talking about even the tourney had a bit of that, right? The horse choreography. Yeah.
The jousting.
Yeah, because I was getting into the point where he wears the mask and the camera's inside the helmet. That is claustrophobic beyond belief, because that's all you can get to see, right, in this foggy morning. So shit, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, man. Like watching them live in tents and sit on the grounds and having to do whatever that they have to do. I'm like, like brother, right? Like it's just not sanitary in any shape or form. So it's yeah, it's fun. Okay, so let's talk. Do you want to first talk about the trial, or you want to just talk about, I guess, the Targaryen side of things?
I think we'll touch upon the Targaryen side of things and then end it eventually with the...
Yeah. I love the entrance of Targaryens, because Dunk is like, who are these guys? And that random villager is like, dude, you're fucking tall. Just see the banners. Are you blind? And I'm like, that's the innocence. That's like the simpleton of Dunk, like this simpleton that he is. So yeah, but Baylor, Maker, and then of course, I guess we are introduced earlier on to Darion and Daron? Darion or Daron?
Daron. Arion. Arion. How do you pronounce it? Arion.
Yeah, Arion. Aemond. Yeah, Aemond and Aegon.
Yeah. So that's the four.
4 and the 2. So yeah. So Baylor, like you mentioned, I think my standout Targaryen, apart from Egg, obviously we spend more time with Egg as Egg, but yeah, I mean, like especially when Dunk crashes into their meeting, right? Like you're like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Right? And the fact that he had the balls enough to go and talk about Arlen of Pennytree, especially to Baelor Targaryen himself, is like crazy. But you're right. I think you're straight away on Baelor's side the way he treats someone like Dunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, Maker doesn't say much. He's obviously the more grumpier brother of the two. That's not to say he's quite a jackass, but I think you could easily
I think the situation kind of drove him to be that way, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's pretty much pissed off about that situation. He himself doesn't want to be in that situation, and obviously at that point when we first meet him, he's just worried about his two kids. Right? Uh, his wife's obviously died, and these two kids have run off, so he's kind of worried about where they are. But yeah, Baelor is someone whom you immediately like. Yeah, man, this guy is heir to the throne. And they say, I think in Game of Thrones, is it that every time a Targaryen is born, God flips a coin, and depends on which side of the coin you land. And so, I mean, Baelor was, I suppose, the king that never was.
Yeah. With Mekar, I think the coin just stuck. They probably flipped it in a sand pit or something, and it just stuck in the middle.
Which is that? Which there was a wasn't there a Bollywood movie or something where it happens like that?
I
Don't remember. There was one. Yeah.
But I mean, I absolutely, like I already mentioned, I absolutely loved Baylor, but I also liked how Mekar, right? How for all the unnecessary um, negative influences he had over his children, or the leeway he was willing to give them, he also had this thing of sort of grounding them in a certain way, especially when Aerion gets involved, does a couple of things that definitely shouldn't have, and kind of sets him in his own ways to, in a way, answer to his own problems or crimes or whatever you want to call it. But when he chooses to not do that, he kind of then punishes him in the way he knows. I think you also need to kind of uh, have some sort of, I don't know if you want to say sympathy or empathy, but like you kind of have to feel for him because his wife is no longer there. So the four kids are everything, and of them two were already missing. So and in general, he feels like he's not been able to. I feel like that's what I feel like. He's not able to, in his conversation with Dunk, it feels like he's not able to send them in the right direction of where he wants them to be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he kind of wants to also make sure he doesn't lose them and stuff. So that fear of making sure that they're okay as well as playing into the
I mean, there is a
layer.
very protective layer that you see with Maker, that he doesn't like. He wants to coddle his kids in whatever shape or form and keep them in wool, but at the same time, he doesn't know how to handle the teenage side of it, which is the rebellious side of it. You like, I understand. I mean, Daron, you can only imagine what he's going through because he sees these dreams about, you know, death and all of this stuff, right? And so that drives him to near desperation to keep drinking, to kind of forget about all of that he's seen. Arion, honestly, like, Arion's a dickhead, right? But my God, he plays it off so well. That entire scene where he is, they're in that room, right? And he demands the trial by 7. That entire scene where he's cracking chestnuts open and with that knife, it's so fun. I'm like, yes, this is so hilarious. This is such a dick move, but he is that guy. And yeah, it's just so hilarious. I mean, he's this rich, spoiled punk kid. Obviously, if he knows that if he goes one-on-one with a bigger guy, he's going to get his ass whooped. So he had to find something else. So he's that coward plus spoiled brat. But because he's got that power, he's able to wield that a lot more. And yeah,
I love how he made Ashford go under the table to pick up that. No, that was
he's like, yeah, I was like,
cool.
It was interesting. Like I kind of wanted to see how, like he has these things of like you kind of see Joffrey in him, but like a mild version comparatively. I think in a certain way.
Much milder. I don't think. Well, okay, yeah, kind of. No, not really. Yeah.
I mean, you only see the first season of him, so you don't know what happens post this, right?
Yeah.
In my case, I kind of know, but I don't want to hint at it anyway. But like the what do you say? The parallels between both the characters are there to see, kind of a thing. And I think it's the fact that scares even Baylor or like anyone else is that there is a high chance at some point, considering the short span of life that the kings from Targaryen families tend to have, it may at very well at some point be that he becomes king potentially, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't be kind to anyone under his reign when it comes to the kind of ruler he
Yeah.
seems becoming, kind of a thing, right? So I think that whole parallel that you see with Joffrey is like quite apparent. Like this is the start, and then you see the end with Joffrey in terms of what happens when you kind of just let someone be
Yeah.
like be very lenient with them, kind of a thing.
But I think the difference is that Joffrey was still like a child kind of thing. This guy was more calculative and
Calculator, yeah. And
he
plus,
knew
he's
what he was doing basically.
battle hardened. Like he feels like he, while
He
he's not the
knows. Yeah.
best, still
Yeah.
can hold his end when it comes to war. Not
I
someone who needs uncle to take care of like
Mm.
a Blackwater scenario or whatever.
I did think that he also had a bit of Viserys in him, which is Daenerys' brother.
Yeah,
That sort of ego that he had, right? Like, I am the blood of the dragon. I am the dragon
Mm.
itself. And yeah, I don't want to hint on what comes next, but yes, it is all. Yeah, so I think with that being said, I think we do get to hear what happened to Aemon, which is he's already sent to the wall. I think by then, oh no, he's sent to the Maester, sent to the Citadel. Yeah, to study. Yeah, he's not sent to the wall at this point. Poor kid, right?
yeah, yeah,
No, so he's sent to the Citadel of obviously and shipped out there. Of course, I guess that's also from Maker to kind of, I mean, handling 4 kids is tough. So send one, the smartest one at least, to the Citadel and let him, you know, be safe there. Uh,
Mm.
and I think he might have, I don't know if he's done that after the 2 kids go missing, just so that for safety purposes, right? I'm not entirely sure on that, but yeah. So that's something that we hear about. But talking about, I mean, the Targaryens still rule the 7 kingdoms. They're still the sort of the kings and queens of the Game
Nine
of Thrones.
Kingdoms. Do they
9.
rule the night, or
Yeah,
is it only?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, Dorne. Yeah, no, where Dorne is put in annexed later on. So earlier on. So yeah, it is the 9 kingdoms. So technically, yeah, the 9 kingdoms. So they are the rulers of the 9 kingdoms. But you know, a lot of the other families don't have high regard for them, right? Someone even as small as a Fossaway, yeah,
Yeah,
they rip them to shreds even in public, right? Like saying that they're incestuous aliens, right?
Mm.
That obviously they're mad, they've obviously brought about whatever has happened in the past. I'm sure a lot of it is because of what's happened in the past, and especially with the House of Dragons and the Dance of Dragons. So a lot of it is from there. And I think it was, you hear it from them, you hear it from Lionel. Lionel is very, very outspoken about how much
yeah.
he predominantly hates.
The tests.
Yeah, detests about. And talking about Baylor, what do you guys make of Lionel's statement about it? Because I mean, that's pretty much true about the fact that, I mean, Dunk obviously is very, very sad that Baylor passed and, whatever happens to Baylor. And like he says that I owe him my life, and he sacrificed his life or whatever. He came to my
Risked
aid,
his life. Yeah.
risked his life, right? But Lionel is not having any of that, right? He is like, it's Beesbury, it's Harding, it's me, it's sort of Raymond. You're talking about someone who was fighting the King's Guard, who was meant to protect him, so he knew nobody could bring him harm, right? So what do you make of that? Because that obviously shines a different light on Baylor, who, at the time of maybe episode 5 or so, whenever he announces that he's in Dunk's side, you're like, yeah, man, this guy is like, he's going against his own family.
A direct parallel to um, the Viper scene, is it not? Like it was like in that moment you felt like, and in that moment I also felt like, okay, yes, this guy, I like him, but I think I know where this is going. That's actually where I kind of remembered, like, oh wait, I think I know what happens to him, kind of a thing. I'm like, oh shit, because I told Az, and she was like, no, and then I was like, shit, I shouldn't have told her.
Yeah. Why do you go spoiling it for other
No,
people?
because it was very this thing. I think because I was like, oh shit, I think I know like this happened, and then she kind of just made up, like she figured out.
She figured it out. Yeah, because you and I watched season 4 together. I remember we were watching it like when it came out, we'd watch it on
Yeah.
Skype and like we'd watch it together. And that was this. I mean, obviously, Oberyn came at that point in time. That Viper scene sent goosebumps. Like I didn't know what happens because I hadn't read the books then, so I didn't know what was gonna happen. And so at that point, I was like, when he says, "I will be your champion," you're like, "Oh yes, come on!" Right? And here, I kind of knew that it was going to be Baylor, but the soundtrack at that point was insanely good. Like that entire scene is superbly done. Um, but yeah, I want to ask Baylor. So, what do you guys think of that, or Lionel's statement of Baylor, essentially?
I mean, at the end, he kind of succumbed to the blow from his own brother and not the King's Guard. So, though, yeah, it might have been, he might have had a slight advantage where the King's Guard probably wouldn't have killed him. But I mean, in that sort of battle, you don't know who's swinging at you and from where. So, I think he still put himself in harm's way. So, uh, at least in my opinion, I don't discredit the sacrifice, or you want to call it the noble cause that he was fighting for. I don't discredit it.
It's not just that. Like I see it in another way as well. He is technically the prince, right? And next in line, he can easily just ask some of the other knights to be in place and kind of help Dunk out, but he chooses to do it himself. So I think that defines who he truly is as a person. Like I get what he's saying, but he's also saying that they don't like to put their minds at ease that he can take care of those guys and they don't really have to worry about him because they are what is the word he
Sworn
uses?
to protect them.
Yeah, exactly. So that I think it's more from a perspective of putting these guys' minds at ease that they just need to focus on the other players at hand as opposed to the knights, the King's Guard, sorry, and everything is fine, kind of a thing. So I definitely like again like I think that's how I see the character. I think he is quite wise. He's very generous and he's very kind. And I think that is the place where this decision of fighting for Dunk comes from, because he thinks Dunk is a true knight, kind of a thing, and in what he chose to do in that situation uh, completely defines that these are the kind of people you need to kind of have or put your faith in to have a better future in place, perhaps.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to the Trial of Seven, just quickly let's talk about some of the side characters. One being Lionel, hilarious. Like just this moment you get to meet him. Of course, he is known as the Laughing Storm. So, oh man, so good. Like especially the first scene in the tent, and even when they're drunk, and even the tug of war scene. Right? It's so much fun. And I guess the other character that other maybe couple of characters is you get to meet Raymond Fosway, who's a
Yeah.
pretty one of the best friends you can ever get. So, bro, perfect bro.
His cousin was an ass, big time one, right? And the moment, like initially when he says that I'll fight for you, I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
it's nice. But
yeah,
the moment he's like, let me go and get this thing for you, and he leaves the tent, I was like, hmm,
yeah.
okay, cool. That might backfire at some point. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I also forgot who was there on either teams, but when he said that I'll join you, I was like, oh, okay, nice. That'll be pretty cool. And then when it turned out, I was like, why did I even think that, right? Then you have, I think Copper was the guy who not Copper. What's his name? Who's the guy who builds his armor? I forgot.
He asked for Copper, but I don't think his name was Copper.
That's why I said. That's why when I said Copper, and I was like, no, he asked for. I'll only want a Copper, so it can't
We can
be
call
his
him
name.
Copper for now.
Let's call him what he asked for. Right? Him, and of course Tansel's the puppeteer who was essentially Tansel Too Tall, right? She was the one who painted the shield, and then the puppeteer, and she's the one who. Oh man, that scene where
The finger snapping.
Yeah. Oh, that was hilarious. But also talking about the
hilarious.
editing. Also talking about the editing, I love the part where he enters. Technically, I mean, scarring more than hilarious. Yeah. No, so
I want Brad like just snap the finger in the Brad like ha 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 ha. She's like,
okay. No. But what I wanted to say was that was scarring. But I was also thinking ahead. My mind went like ahead into the next scene where Egg announces that he's Aegon, and then it becomes like this Bollywood scene where it goes ta 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 like that, right? Like it goes into one, like the editing is so snappy to each person's shocked reaction. And so that was hilarious. But I didn't, my mind was like, let's already skip to that. And I just remembered, because honestly, I said finger snap, right? And you said, and you were laughing. And my mind was already jumping ahead. And I said hilarious. And then when you said hilarious, I was like, why is he saying hilarious? What did I say? And then I took me back and I was like, I did. Yeah. No. So when Aaron said hilarious, I was like, why did Aaron say hilarious? Then it took me a second. Like if you go back, I was like, it takes me a second, because I then had to realize that I only said I said finger snap and I said hilarious. And I was like, oh shit, no, that's
But no, that was true. That was an interesting scene. The whole way it was played out, even like when he then tried to kind of knock out all of Dunk's teeth and stuff, I felt like the way that was played out was quite cool.
Yeah. And it's nice that I think Aegon goes first to Dunk, right? Like he could have gone anywhere else, but he goes straight to Dunk to kind of get to help Tansel. But if only he knew Dunk was stupid enough to go and start beating the shit out of Aerion, right? Like, so he could have maybe not had that.
But I think that's also what he wanted, right? He wanted to end him also, so he was hoping that Dunk would get the job done, I guess.
Yeah, but actually, talking about ending this, that scene where Egg walks into Aerion's room with the knife at the end, right? Like, we talk about how good the characters are. For a kid of that age, the sort of emotion that he showed, especially when he sees his father and his father walks by and he like drops the knife and has this like resigned look, like, fuck, this is not gonna happen. Like I can never get rid of this dude.
But
right?
even like when he kind of like, when his father puts his hands on him and he kind of rests his head on him like that, you kind of see even that even though he is unhappy, there is a bond between him and his dad.
Yeah.
I also look at it from a perspective of how much trauma he would have been through with this guy as a child to be put into that place, kind of a thing. And
it's the cat down the well and the knife between the legs.
But like I don't think that's on one occasion, right? Like I think it's multiple times that's happened.
The knife definitely multiple, right? I love the reasoning as well. like
multiple
I've got
times.
I've got too many brothers, and I like don't mind a sister, so I could marry you. And like Raymond laughs. I was like, shit, this is dark as shit, man. That's but yeah, I see that that's what you guys Targaryens do, so I can see that.
So again, like I mean, as I was mentioning, the in that very scene where Egg is like, I mean, almost going to, it looks like he might actually kill his brother. But in the final moments, even before he spots his dad, you kind of see him second guess it. And I guess in that moment where he turns away and then eventually spots his father, he's kind of like, this is not who I am. But he feels so helpless with the trauma he's been put through by his brother that he feels like he can't live with or without him, kind of a thing, right? And that really adds to his misery as a whole.
I think he could easily live without him. He's been trying that.
I was like,
but I mean, not at the cost of losing who he himself is. Like he doesn't.
He doesn't want to do it,
but he doesn't want to be the person who does it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of a guilt he wants to get.
He'll just be the enabler. That's it.
Enabler, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that was really beautifully done, and I love the bond between the father and the son that you see, not just in that, but also towards the end when you see him having a conversation about wanting to continue to being a squire for Dunk, and the eventual betrayal he gets from Egg towards the end that you see. That was pretty.
So that's the twist from what I think. That's the twist from what actually happens in the books. Yeah, in the books, I suppose. I think in the books, Maker allows it to happen. Like he allows Egg to go. But I like the twist. I mean, obviously Maker is that kind of person, and Egg is definitely that kind of person to run away and do whatever the fuck he wants to. So that was nice. But okay, let's talk about, I think the final thing, we get to the big part of this show, and that is the trial of the seven.
I think before that also we should like just briefly touch upon the difference in nights. Sorry, I'm really sorry, but one of the main points that we should have ideally covered, like in terms of the high bonds versus the low bonds per se, like the commoners versus the high bond, the hedge knights or whatever.
Hedge
kind of
knights,
really see that play out. And okay, I know this happens quite a bit, but in the way that the treatment happens, right? In the way that the hedge knights are treated in general, or how you see Dunk being treated, kind of a thing. It just feels very like there's a huge gap between. You don't see that in Game of Thrones more so. I see it at least, but in this it feels like the gap in itself is quite huge, and it matters where you fall in all of that stuff. It had parallels with this anime thing that I've been watching. It's called Black Clover, where being a high bond versus a low bond, like the massive difference in what you're allowed to say or who you're allowed to join, what kind of power you're allowed to have, in the sense that you can't be stronger, or it's expected that you cannot be stronger than a high bond, and things like that, how that comes into play and stuff like that, and how commoners in general are like looked down upon or such. And I saw that parallel here as well in the way Dunk was being treated, even if whether he was a knight or not was questionable.
Well, no, he definitely wasn't. Like,
yeah. But again, like in that essence of thing, what was it also was not very clear in terms of what it actually meant to be a knight in that realm anymore, kind of a thing, right? Like the moral compass did not seem to exist, and that comes to the focus in that scene, which we now move on to. That is the trial of the seven.
Yeah. Which I mean, I love the fact that Dunk was like, "Do I need to fight 7 men?" And he's like, "No, dude, you idiot." But I mean, if it is trial by combat, it is 1-on-1. So you would think trial by 7 would be you. It's like a gauntlet match of sorts. Like
7 opponents. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And I think Dunk would have still been okay fighting 7 men. For him to go and find 6 other men to fight alongside him, that's the bigger headache. He's like, fuck, who the hell am I going to find? I don't know how they managed to sort of convince that Mad Knight, the one-eyed guy, to come fight, and
Yeah.
also having someone fighting on a horseback only because that guy's leg was broken, not like he could do anything. Right? So it's just, just get pieces from here and there to fight. But my God, the choreography during that fight was insane. Shout out to Lionel. I love the Baratheon stag helmet that he had. Looked insanely cool. Like, I'm now waiting for the whole. I'm sure they'll make it at some point, which is the Robert Baratheon versus Rhaegar
Yeah.
fight, right?
The
And that's
rebellion.
the rebellion, and that's where you'll also see the stag
Yeah.
helmet come through. But yeah, I think here it's I love, like I said, right, the camera from inside Dunk's helmet was such a cool shot because essentially that's all you see. And I going into it, I thought that at least he would put up a fight. The first
I
thing
saw
he
him. I felt the very same thing. But the first moment he gets hit, from there on, it's an onslaught. I'm like, man, is there going to be a season 2 to this or what? Like, how does this work? It's so brutal. And it felt like, what good is that armor? Every other thing is getting pierced through. Like, it was insane. But like and I mentioned this earlier, like I really love the choreography of that whole event or jousting or whatever you want to call it. It was insanely done and it was chaotic as hell. And that first person thing made it just worse, like imagining yourself in being that kind of a situation. Like facing 7 opponents in itself is quite harrowing, even if you have 7 people with you. It's like you don't know who might come at you from where, kind of a thing. uh but leaving all of that just
yeah.
like to this side.
Because there's that one part where he gets up and he gets whacked on the head
Yeah,
again by
yeah,
the
yeah.
by someone else. And then of course Aerion has the mace which he whacks again on his head, and I'm like, what the hell's happening? I think only the chainmail helped him slightly with the knife, like slightly, and that too barely. Even when he turned his back, Aerion poked him on the shoulder blade. I was like, dude, what are you doing right now? What the point? Just and yeah, but it was again a testament to his sort of resilience, right? The fact that he got back up, beat the shit
Yeah,
out of him.
he
He
could have
got
easily
he got
Duncan
Or
the
or it can also be how stupid that guy was. Like, finished the job. How
yeah,
many times did you have him dead on the floor? But
yeah.
anyway.
I think he got lucky. Of course, Dunk got lucky with that one cut to the artery of almost like a femoral artery on the leg, right, where that one part
Hmm.
of the armor wasn't there. But by the way, Arion's gear, my God, that helmet is
I love the helmet.
sick.
The
yeah,
dragon scales on
dragon.
the back. Oof.
Yeah, I I think that was easily one of the best things, and yeah, I mean, I don't know
Even
what
the
I
armor
mean.
for his horse, I think, had like this thing to represent the face of a dragon, which was pretty cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. Is there any game where
Even
we could use that?
even
Let me quote.
Baylor's this thing was pretty cool. Like I
Jin
mean, not
Sakai is close.
Yeah, like Ghost of
but
Yoda, you put that.
Baylor was wearing this one's armor, right?
His
Like
sons.
His sons.
Yeah, that's why it's a
Yeah.
bit tight. Like you could see even when he announced that he was taking Dunk's side, the way he was taking out his helmet itself is like he's struggling to get it out. Um, but it's awesome that and I mentioned at the start, right? Like this entire show is just following Dunk and Egg, and in the battle you could be following, like when Dunk was out, you could have gone and followed Lionel, what he was doing. You could have followed, and it's just like you're stuck with this one guy. And I love the fact is when he is dragging Aerion to kind of yield, that's
Yeah.
when you, in the background, you do see Maker hit Baylor on the head with the mace, right? And it's those small little moments which really stand out. It's just like shit. On watching it back, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because I think at that point in time, Maker heads towards Dunk to stop him, and then Baylor like stops him, and then he hits him at that point. And I'm like, oh, at that point you don't think much, but at the end, I mean, it says a lot to Baylor that even though his skull is caved in, he still had enough wit, or still enough of his brain was working to tell them not to put oil but to use hot wine on Dunk to save him, right? With all his injuries. I guess would Baylor have survived if they just kept the helmet on? Like
Helmet is that? Yeah.
just walk
Man in
around.
the Iron Mask. That's how that movie came about.
Yeah. It's just got welded into his skull. They're like, just
I
let
was
it
just
be.
going to say that, like, cut off all the other pieces and just let the back piece be. Like when like when you try to move, you hear that sound, you're like, okay, maybe I should just stop, kind of thing. Let's not do it. It's like, sir, I think I need to stop here. Let's not remove it. Oh, shit.
It's
Actually,
like
you
when,
know what? This looks good on you. Keep it.
Yeah.
yeah. When you're at the barbers and and you tell them, can you just cut it a little shorter? They're like, no sir, just keep it as it is. Just don't.
Really? Who are your barbers?
I've had that. I've had that once.
Tell them cut a little and then boom, boom, everything is gone. Like, oh shit, they took a little man. Just a tad bit down.
They drew blood, like suddenly blood starts. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So no, but the trial itself was madness. Was really chaotic. Maybe I wish we could have seen a lot more of what else was happening. You can't really follow much because Dunk's just being hit left, right, and center around. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, given Aerion is Meka's son, there's not a lot of whole lot of protection that the King's Guard gave towards the end, I suppose. Especially given that both Harding and Peacebury died in the first joust itself. So it's not like
But you have to wonder, like, what happened to the King's Guard. Maybe he took a few of them out, Baylor perhaps, and that's why they were not there. Because ideally they would have to hold back when they were taking on him, which meant he had the upper hand and probably disarmed them or did something in terms of knocking them out quickly.
yeah,
He wouldn't kill them for sure.
because Raymond was fighting Stefan, his cousin.
Yeah.
You have Lionel, I think, was taking on one of the King's Guard, and you had Baylor taking on Makar. So you had 1, 2, 3. Daron is out, right? And so that leaves. So that's 6 people. You have Dunk and Arion. That's 8 people. And so yeah, maybe you could have, but yeah, I don't know. Probably Lionel and you had the mad guy, the mad
One-legged guy.
one-legged, one-eyed guy, the one-eyed what's his name?
Yeah.
Robin Riesling or something, whatever his name. Right. So you had maybe
in that event itself, like it's also the pre-event, like before the event begins, and he needs to get someone on his side, kind of a thing. That speech is pretty strong. Like it really delivers, and it's also in the way where you would think it would be very desperate. Like I don't know why has that smile on his face, but it's
Because
it's
I just thought it delivered some gas.
yeah, he's talking all gas. Yeah.
So in terms of this guy, right, like Dunk, you would think in that moment he might kind of
like please just come
very
and join.
desperate. Yeah, like it felt like he might break and like just ask for someone to help, kind of a thing. But I love how that change, and that really defines his character, kind of a thing. It shows that he is, even though he's not a true knight, in a lot of ways he is, in the way he calls for people to take on his side and things like that, and reminds them what honor is, and what it's like to be like what it is expected of such big houses and things like that. It clearly sends a statement of what kind of a person he himself is and what kind of a knight he dreams. I mean, in this case, he is, but like
Yeah.
in his head, it's what he dreams of becoming, kind of a thing, and that's really nice to see and very very powerful in the way he delivers that message across. Also, love the thing where
But
that guy and has
yeah.
that thing with
Yeah.
that was very like it just broke that entire serious nature of that thing and just I was like what a dick move, man. Like seriously.
Brute of
And
Bracken.
but then that set the pace, obviously, of what an insane entry was to follow.
Yeah.
That whole.
But also, talking about like his speech and the fact that he's rallying people and he wants somebody to join him, right? There's no doubt that like like whatever happened for this trial of 7 to occur, right? Like the events were pretty clear. Like say for instance, we're talking about Tyrion. Like you could be like nobody wanted to be in Tyrion's side because some still doubted that he was at fault. Like he was the one who killed Joffrey and all of that, right? But can give some spoiler, but yeah. So you kind of like that was you could make the argument that some people didn't want to get to his side because they genuinely believe that he was guilty. However, here I think there's absolute clarity that he did go and protect Tansel, and he did that because Aerion broke Tansel's finger and all of that. But I think people just didn't want to rub the Targaryens the
I
wrong
think
way.
the second accusation also probably didn't do him justice, which was that he kidnapped Egg, right? So there was like both Targaryen kids can't be lying or whatever, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
And
Yeah, I guess the second one. Yeah.
also, but like I think, like stopping it is one thing, but then completely obliterating Aerion in that moment was quite something else. And I guess that kind of also like considering he is the prince,
Mm.
overstepped. I mean, I don't think he's overstepped. I would have liked it if his head was bashed in that moment, but
Yeah.
I mean, justice from a perspective of doing that to a ruler or to
But do you think Baylor was right that Tansel and the puppeteers should have been a lot more careful in showing the depiction of the death of a dragon? Given, I mean, I know it's been a while since there's been any war of any kind, but even so, like,
Yeah, but I
Um,
don't think he was saying that it is like against the law and stuff like that. I think it was more like you have to be careful because someone could take offense, and that could be a possible reaction. And I think like how he handled the situation was like he knows it is wrong, but his first priority would be to protect his family, and so as much as he'll try to help you out from the sides, there is only so much he could do. And so I think that's what he was trying to say is like, watch what you say in public, I guess.
yeah.
also, there is this air of uneasiness for the Targaryen family. I believe they do feel without the dragons on by their side anymore. They don't have that strength per se, and I don't think they're at the level of. It's not about. I don't think they're definitely not at the level of power that they were a few decades or a century ago, basically, right? And that plays into this insecure feeling that they're having in terms of having to shut down all of these kind of things so that it doesn't snowball into something much bigger that could be threatening to their like the lineage or whatever is to follow, basically.
Speaking of snowballing, I mean, Lionel does mention that a war is coming, which is quite early on because, I mean, Game of Thrones is still nearly a century away. And so that's I think that ties into what you were saying, right? Like, take advantage right now. The Targaryens are a bit weak.
But how would it be a century away?
What?
You have women already. in there,
Yeah.
right? And it would be like half a decade at most, not more than that. Because when you meet, Robert has been ruling that for what, 20 odd years since the battle?
I don't.
Or 15 years, I
Yeah,
think.
must. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because Ned Stark was the young Ned Stark, right? So you think when John was born, right? That's when.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like maybe the show he's like 20 years old approx,
yeah,
if not
roughly. Little younger, I'm certain.
18. I
Yeah,
don't think he would. In the books, obviously, they're much younger, but
yeah,
in this, I think 18 to 20 is what it felt like he was, probably. And to that aspect, then, like, if you take the 18-year jump before that, you're somewhere around, I think.
yeah. So I guess that I'm talking about the show is probably maybe a century, but yeah, 90 years from the start of the show, but or where we start the show from. But I'm guessing, yeah, maybe half 70 years away from that battle.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, Egg has to grow up, right? And then of course it's Egg's son,
Yeah, but
essentially.
see, that is very the thing with the lineage of the Targaryens is that they get married early, and in
Yeah,
most cases, then more often than not, they do die early. That like that's how it is with the Targaryens.
yeah.
Uh, how it's been in the family for the longest part. They don't live for too long.
Because technically, I mean, Egg is still alive when Rhaegar is born.
Yeah,
Mm.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, kind of technically, kind of alive. But yes, so that is, so yeah, I guess it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know, but the fact that he said a war is coming, I guess it was more to tie in with what you're saying that the Targaryens aren't at their peak of the past, right? They're going through a very vulnerable phase, and so I think from the Baratheon side, it's more like maybe now is a good time to look at taking advantage. I don't know. I'm trying to think of why he would say that a war is coming, right? A
I
war
think that's
technically.
just like
I think it's
starting
just a
to
matter
build.
of hope. Yeah.
Yeah, that and
Mm.
like starting to put a plan into place. Obviously, like while they are much weaker, they still have considerable hold around them. So taking them on wouldn't be the easiest of this thing.
Yeah.
And also, there's this thing of uh, correct me if I'm wrong. There's still the other battle that's going on, right? Or am I wrong in that? There is. Did they talk about that? Because I don't want to say something.
In this, no,
Rebellion.
then nothing, no battle yet.
Okay, cool. Then never mind. Like I don't
These
want to.
guys wouldn't have been there if there was, right?
No, there are multiple rebellions. I know one has
Yeah,
definitely taken.
so that rebellion, which is the other side you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
The red and black and the
that the red and the black is in the house of this thing, but there is
no
the name
that
in
that's the green. That's the green and black in
yeah,
this
the
thing.
red and the black.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I mean the alternate one, right? If Targaryens are black and red, then I'm talking about the red and black, the other
yeah,
ones. Yeah. So that is not yet. I think you're right. I think one part of it did happen because Maker and Baylor get their names from that. Get
yeah,
their
yeah.
nicknames from that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So but there are more that happen, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that happened. Now it's interesting to know where this show eventually goes. Like I mentioned, like the books are very small, and I don't know if the books cover all the way until we do get the prediction, which is a very haunted prediction from that woman, right? About what happens to what the end is
Mm.
technically. But I don't know how much they're going to cover in this. I know the showrunner jokingly said that we'll do 4 seasons now, we'll wait another 10 years, let them grow up, then we'll do the next part of their life. Then we'll wait for another 10 years, and then we'll come back to when they're it's like we follow their journey. And I was like, that's great. I mean, honestly, if you're able to do it, great. But with this being said, I think yeah, I don't know where it goes from here. Obviously, there will
By the
be
time
a
the
couple of
next season
seasons.
comes out, we're at least 2 or 3 years away, right? That's the
No,
second.
next year.
What? Really?
Yeah. That's what. So because these are shorter ones, right? So they said next year is what I think they look
Yes.
targeting.
Good to hear. Because otherwise, it's like by default, you're like, okay, seen you now, I'm not seeing you again for the next 2 or 3 years at the very least.
Yeah, next
So
egg becomes as tall or as big as Dunk is. Like, yeah.
That was like by the time these guys come back, Egg will have become Egon already.
Yeah.
Hashed out.
Yeah, no. So I'm pretty sure I saw that they said that it would be 2027.
Nice.
Yeah, season 2 is expected to premiere sometime in 2027. So
Nice stuff.
yeah. So anything else that we're missing out on? Any other favorite moments that you guys thought? Okay, by the way, question. Is the redhead's baby actually Raymond's, or did she just basically
But she basically because he met her just
after
then.
yeah.
So would it be way too short? This thing to kind of like I thought it was like
for the bump to happen to be shown. Yeah, I think
not for you to initially know. You would kind of at least have a 3 week or 4 week period. I think roughly.
But that takes time, right? Like because you see, Dunk has like the recovery period for Dunk is not like a day or two, so that takes time. So, but
even the way she looks at him, it's very like no, yeah, you know it kind of a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
You just have to refer to the what is that book in this thing
the one that Ned Stark reads.
King's Landing, yeah. What color this thing? The seed is strong or not strong? We'll come to know soon.
Oh, by the way, talking about the seed being strong or not, Baelor's son, right? Like black hair with a bit of white. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Even Baelor himself didn't look like he had a lot of the white-haired Targaryen look. And I think there is a descendancy from Baratheon side as well, right? From I'm guessing from.
It's that the mother is from another this thing, right?
Is it Dondarrion? No, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Dondarrion.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that was a cool thing where the sun is like full black and then you just see a bit of the white there. It's nice touch.
I also like the brief conversation this guy has with his son. I didn't like the part where he says like, "Why, why you over my?" Although like his dad was pretty like a really nice king. It seemed like he seemed destined to be a good king. The king that never was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think I in that moment in itself, you see the bond he had with his father, because for the most part you don't see it. Like, you see that bits with Meka, but you don't really see the bonding between or at least I don't recall seeing the bonding between Baelor and his son. And in that moment where he speaks of Baelor, you knew it was quite a warm this thing, and he thought really highly of his father and things like that kind of thing. So that was really nice to see.
Yeah, because I mean he lends him his armor, right? Like, so I'm guessing that's that. But I don't know. Maybe part of it was also like maybe he should have been there instead of Baelor, or he should have just not given his armor to Baelor because it was too tight. So yeah, I think that part guilty. But yeah, I guess
that happened at Baelor because Aerion is, while his own brother is not like that. Like Mekar is much more sound-minded, and he wouldn't intentionally try to kill Baelor. With Aerion, it would have been different. He would have probably used the opportunity to put an end to this guy the first chance he got, because you do see him initially, right? Like, hey, cousin, and like he kind of mocks at him or something like that. So you already know it's not a very easygoing relationship there.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're looking at it, then Baelor's son, I don't know what his name is, getting it, but he is the next in line after Baylor, right? He would be the next in line to the
What?
throne.
I could be wrong.
Uh,
Not difficult.
yeah. Let me see. But yeah, I think he would have been the one that is there, I guess. Like he's no son
Wouldn't
is
it be
who?
his brother though? I don't think it would be
Would
his
it
son,
not?
right? And
I
would
don't
it?
know. I mean, technically, well, I mean, it would be Prince, like
Kind of
Prince.
succession. Yeah. I mean, even I was wondering if it would be because his brother never became the king. Does it automatically pass on to Menkar, or would it be because he was destined to be the king? It moves on to his son next.
It would, right? Because technically, even if you look at the England
That's what it is, right?
royalty, yeah,
Would
it's
move
not
to
like
Prince Andrew.
yeah. So it won't be William going to, or I mean, Charles will have to go to William, right? It won't go to. I mean, definitely shouldn't go to Andrew or whatever, but that's a different story. But I'm guessing if William is the king, it won't go to Harry. It would go to William's son or whatever first. So
Got it.
suppose that's how it would be.
Yeah. In this, I know for sure. Like that's probably what it's like. I think it's hinting at.
So it's Valar Targaryen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dagon is the father then?
Yeah, Daeron the good is the father.
Dagon.
Yeah, so he's the father who's currently ruling. But yeah. All right, so I guess that's all the time we have for this particular episode. We've discussed everything there is to do with the Night of the Nine Kingdoms, and yeah, I guess we will only see. By the way, I love that last shot of Dunk and Egg going and Arlen going past him. I mean, going by and then taking the left turn.
Yeah.
Oh, before we leave, I have this
Yes.
question. So we know obviously Dunk is not this thing, right? The question he asks his mentor,
Yeah.
Sir Alan
Penny
Penny
Tree.
Tree. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, don't. Pennywise is
Why?
the clown from
Often.
I was going to
Arlen
say
of Penny Tree.
Pennyworth. I was like, wait,
Oh.
that doesn't. It's Alfred Pennyworth, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And this is more so from us. Okay, she kind of like brought this up. What if he didn't make him a knight?
Because he
Echo
wasn't a knight.
by Dunk himself did not make the other guy a knight because he himself was not a knight.
To like Raymond.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he doesn't he hesitates to do that, right? Until the eventual point where Baratheon
Yeah.
tells him to go, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And in playing that this thing back to where that memory is, As was like, what if that's the case? Like he didn't make him the knight because he himself was not a true knight to begin with. Kind of a thing.
Possibly. Yeah, I would think so. Imagine after Sir Arlen passed away, he took Sir Arlen's hand with the sword and he knelt down and he's like, "Here, knight, I knight you in the name of the mother." And the
The second time he came alive, I was like, "Oh man, please just just lay your sword." Okay, wait, that doesn't sound right. Okay, let's just...
but talking about that point is like, why did Arlen not knight Dunk, right?
Yeah.
Is it because he wanted to spare him from what he had gone through with the whole penny tree and talking about, having to put that penny into the oak tree and and that was for people going out, right? And when you came back, you couldn't take it out, so you'd again, like, people had to keep putting penny. So it's just more like, did he spare him from that life that he thought was going to be a very difficult life as a hedge knight, that people were not going to take him seriously, blah blah blah, all of that.
We'll find out.
We'll find. I don't think we will, because Sir Harlan definitely took the Paul Walker's side and went off.
Maybe we'll have a prequel for him as well. 25 years after this thing.
25
of
years
the
before a night of the Seven Kingdoms. And when we're talking about the Seven Kingdoms, we'll get to see the joust between Baelor and Sir Arlen, right? That they were talking about. So, yeah.
The four. Yeah.
The four lances.
The,
So, I am stupid, sir.
the final prequel you'll see will be the Aegon the Conqueror, because they'll need a lot of funding for that.
They were
So-
talking about doing that right now, so we never know. Yeah,
Oh, really? You already have the funding. Nice. Excellent.
exactly. Cool.
Well,
I guess.
makes sense because Paramount just bought them out. So, yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's call it a day now. I think we've done. I think our podcast has exceeded an episode of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and that's saying a lot.
Right. Easy.
Yeah. But
It's like a couple of episodes.
Couple of
not one
episodes.
episode.
Exactly.
all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to us and watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the like button, share with friends and family, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as on Instagram, and we'll catch you all on our next episode. Until then, see you.